again, we've been talking about sexuality, but we started from biology, right? So we're talking sperm, egg, mommy, daddy, so on and so forth. So I think sometimes we just want to go straight for the Christian ethical sex conversation. I mean, there's a natural law of how these things also work, right? And sometimes just explaining, this is how babies are made, this is how you procreate. Starting that conversation earlier, I think for us so far has been helpful. Having that conversation earlier has been helpful. And just explaining, hey, like, this is the Christian sex ethic. This is what it is. This is how a man and a woman come together, procreate, have babies, and husband and wife. And again, as he gets older, we'll explain pleasure to him. We'll explain all the other things around sex that are, oneness and coming together in that way. So I think it's less, again, not a talk, but talks. We talk about this stuff all the time in different ways to the capacity which he can understand at 6 years old. Again, he's 6 years old. So it's
right.
Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Like, we're not having that conversation at 6, And I think if there's a groundwork laid out for marriage, for what the point of marriage is, the point of family is, the point of intimacy is, children, how amazing all that is. I think a lot of this stuff is you just kind of connect the dots, and you figure it out. And to keep it all the way a buck, my son's not in public school. There's a reason for that, right? Like, because I think there's a difference between like, hey, we should treat all people as image bearers with dignity, respect, and honor. We shouldn't bully anybody for whatever choices they've made. However, the moment you start pushing your morals onto me and saying, no, he has to learn this in school, or this has to be this way, I think that's when that's then the pushback to some of the fundamentalism, right? It's like both sides want to legislate their morality. The fundamentalists want to legislate the Bible in school and all these kind of things. And it's like, okay, I could see some value for that. I could see that vibe. And then the people that are on the far end of the spectrum, what I would say the leftists, right? Not liberal, but leftist, like all the way on the other spectrum. No, you have to say this is the same as a heterosexual marriage. You have to say this is the same as a regular family. You have to say these things the same. And that's where I go, no, I don't. No, I don't. We're just going to homeschool, And if I was in public school, I would just opt my kids out of that. Which, by the way, that's a whole other conversation where people are like, they're going to indoctrinate. No, you can opt out. You can really opt out of those conversations. You can. How am I going to navigate the LGBTQ conversation with my son? Honestly, I don't know. We haven't gotten that far yet. We haven't gotten that far yet. I have no idea how we're going to navigate that conversation. My opinion, my gut with all these things is, if I can explain my heart and God's heart for what God is for and what God is about and the beauty and the way God ordered the universe, I think there's less of a need to be, this is what he's against. This is what he's against. And I think we got to be clear on what isn't of God. But I think that's the tough part is like we just lead with what we're against and what we're not, what this isn't, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. Instead of saying, hey, this is the heart of God. This is what it is, right? So I'll give you an example. Very flawed metaphor, okay? But just follow along. Okay?
Bring it on.
It's a very flawed metaphor. So I'm into fitness. You know that. I like to work out. I like to strength train. My son, who's 6, knows what macronutrients are. My son knows what he needs to eat to put on muscle, right? He knows protein is one of those things that he needs to eat. So I'm not here yelling at him about ice cream and sugar and how bad that stuff is. I'm telling him this is what you need to do if you say you want to go to the Olympics one day, which is, by the way, what he told me last night. He wants to go to the Olympics. We were watching the Olympics. He was in our hotel room, getting down, stepping, and sprinting across the room because he said he's going to be a sprinter at the Olympics, right? And I said,
that's awesome.
Cool. Just so you know, that's the best of the best of the best. You're going to work really hard, and you're going to have to eat right, and you're going to have to do all these things. So in telling someone how to transform their life, how to get aligned with your fitness, I think sometimes people just go, you got to cut out all the junk. People don't even have a context for what junk is. There's people that are like, junk? Bread? Bread is good. Bread is healthy for you. No, it's not.
Bread makes you fat?
Right? Yeah. A lot of people don't know that, right? Or like, I got to cut out sweet tea, right? We're in the South.
Yeah.
Sweet tea. I love sweet tea. It's like, there's a lot of sugar in sweet tea, right? So instead of saying, let's cut all these things out. These things are bad. These things are bad. These things are bad. These things are bad. Let me educate him on what is good for him and what's healthy for him and what's beneficial. And I think in that process, we'll get to that stuff when we have to get to that stuff as his advancement goes. So if we're going, hey, I want to get healthy. Okay, hey, you want to get healthy? More chicken, more green food. That. Higher protein, higher greens. You eat that, you're going to get healthy. And then we can get into the deductive reasoning of what you can and can't have as you get further along in that process and you have more capacity to understand. If you were to say, hey, man, I want to be sub 10% body fat, it's completely different than someone that's like, dude, I just want to lose some weight. You want to lose some weight, eat some chicken and some greens. You're going to lose some weight. Be more active. For the person that's trying to get to sub 10%, we're going to have to get into the minutia as your capacity to understand. So what I'm saying is my son's capacity, once he understands more, then we're going to have to get into the minutia of like, here are some things that we just don't do, and this is why. So if you're trying to get sub 10% body fat, again, very flawed metaphor, so forgive me. If you're trying to get sub 10% body fat, you can't ever have pizza, right? Like unless you've been sub 10% body fat, you're a professional athlete, you live at an elite level all the time, you strength train and train for a living, you can have pizza. Most people who want to get the you're never having pizza. It's out of the cards for you. It's just not in the cards if you want to operate on that level as you get more capacity, right? And so I think it's the same way with anything else. You got to let people's capacity to understand something get into the heart of things. And it doesn't mean we don't take a stand and we don't say, hey, generally speaking, pizza is really bad for you. Like you probably shouldn't have a lot of it. And I think we just go for that instead of saying, hey, what is the objective of what we're trying to get to? What is the heart of what we're trying to get to? Oh, this is, you want to follow Jesus? Okay, here are Jesus' expectations for marriage. One man, one woman. And that means everything outside of that isn't Jesus' expectation for that, right? That means hooking up, that's bad, right? That means sleeping around. That means having multiple partners. That means, so many different things that are outside of God's heart, and we just go for the LGBTQ question. And it's like, yeah, that's bad too. But there's all these other things that are normative in church that we look the other way towards and we don't ever address. And that's the thing, that word sexual immorality in the scriptures is porneia. It's a junk drawer term. It's like all these things, fornication's bad, adultery's bad, this is bad. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to say porneia as a junk drawer term just in case you figure out some other way to fit in some other sin that I haven't addressed yet. I'm going to create a junk drawer term and call it porneia, sexual immorality. Here's God's heart.
Hey y'all, we hope you loved this conversation. Here at Young Married Christian, we are on a mission to see a gospel-centered home made available for every single child in the foster care system. There are 400,000 kids in the foster care system, and there are 400,000 churches in America. Wow, that is crazy. This is absolutely a solvable problem, and we want to be a part of it. If you want to join us in that mission, text the word freedom to 833-370-1610.
833-370-1610. 833-370-1610.
I just did it. And another thing you can do that is really helpful is to smash the like button on this video.
Smash it like Satan's face. Crush it like it's Lucifer's head.
It really helps us a ton, so smash that like button, subscribe to this channel.
That's it.
Smash the like button on this video.